To je serija što se zove Post work. And this one is called Post's work leaving the factory. The work was made actually for this space, for Technical Museum, Hala 5. So in a way it's a sort of, it's site-specific, it's made for a big empty space that takes into consideration their history, which is that it has been a factory, that it has been a space of production, a supermarket, that it has been a squat, and that now it's a museum. The work is sculpture, and the work is an installation. The work is also clothing. I wanted to put it in this space because then you can get far away from it and you can see it as an object. You see the frame and the clothes together as a thing. It's a metal construction, it's steel. Perhaps the type of construction that you might expect to see in a boutique, in like a fashion store. But perhaps it's also something that might display artifacts within a museum environment also, possibly. But it has the colors. Okay, they're very close to some of the colors on the clothing, but the colors maybe also recall a space of play, like playgrounds. It's like a sort of space perhaps of physical training. And there are lots of pieces of fabric that hang on bespoke, so specially made coat hangers. And those fabrics are, lots of them are old pieces of workwear that have never been worn, and I've started changing them, adding things to them, taking things away from them, remixing them, mixing them with new fabrics, with quite abstract sort of other shapes, forms. And you also see here remakes of classic workwear patterns, and they've been made with much thinner fabrics, more delicate fabrics, and different sorts of pinks, quite light pinks, which I suppose would be unusual because you expect glitter of this type to be blue. Traditional workwear, I suppose it's about protection, taking care of a worker. It's about keeping your other clothes clean. It's also about saying when you're wearing workwear that you are working, that you are in service, that you are working for something or somebody else. Some of the biggest fashion houses are making workwear. And I think there are lots of different reasons for why people are attracted. I think, there is basic things like simple cuts, good quality materials, stuff that lasts, basically, things that have a sort of longevity to them. I think it's partly that. But there's also, what I like to believe is that people want to buy into the idea of spaces of solidarity and equality and commonality. I think in workwear colour is always about categorization. It's always about indicating where one belongs, where they are in a sort of hierarchy perhaps, but also what their skill base is. But I think with pastel colours like this, you also have something that appears to be very gentle and very fragile and soft. But actually, what I want to talk about with this work is all the sort of damaging and toxic elements within contemporary work patterns. So the colour sort of, it belies something beneath it, which is quite a different sort of type of interest. So it might appear to be, quite innocent, but actually it carries something which is quite different to that. Lots of what I'm doing, whether it's with clothing or not with clothing, is about considering contemporary working conditions and the impact on the body and mental health of those sorts of conditions. So, there's a massive rise recently in mental health issues and stress and anxiety, and those are all connected, to my mind, directly to working patterns. There's been a rise, it's ongoing, it's on the up, I think, always, to work more, to work better, to work more efficiently, to work more productively. And these sorts of demands, of course, are really toxic. When I'm working with these sorts of clothes, I'm thinking about a dysfunctional worker, about a worker that's broken, about a worker that's taken to pieces, sort of deconstructed. But I'm also thinking about a worker that has to function as a multi-headed creature that has to do lots of different things at the same time, all the time. And so this sort of splicing of different things together is something to do with that, something to do with the combination of different types of identity, different types of worker, different types of demands. But it's also, you know, if you have a half of a piece of clothing that's suddenly just a massive sheet of fabric, I'm thinking about what would that do to the body, and if they were to try to wear it. You would stumble, you would fall, you would, you know, it would hinder your activity. Even though maybe there's a sort of elegance to the way that they fall here, and there's a beauty to them, there's a delicacy, there's also, you know, the idea that these things are obstacles, you know, they get in the way, they cause problems. And so I'm thinking about this sort of workwear, but also the idea of not being able to work.